there you'll see the date. It was 1290. This is when all these shops were built. Now I know they look like believe shops, but believe me, you take away all the false fronts and you've got cellars. Can you see the boot inn over there? That was built in 1643. Can you see it? So you've got all sorts of different buildings. You've got 17th century buildings. We've got Victorian and Georgian buildings, which is all different types of architecture which is developed throughout the many centuries in this beautiful city centre. And these rows are famous. You will never see anything like these anywhere else in the world. The best thing for us to do, the roof, I'm afraid, is quite modern compared to the structure of the building that you see here. And if you look behind you, you'll see this magnificent west window, but over in the corner here, you will see part of the original nave, that beautiful Norman arch there, which is the original nave, which was built in 1092. I want to show you another one now, which I think is one of my favourites. And this is the one here. Can you all see it? Can you all see this one?
Yes.
The monk has carved the senior man, the abbot, and he's carved him and he's drinking a pint of beer. Can you see the pint of beer? And because he's making a pig of himself, there's the devil pushing the beer into his mouth, and because the devil's making a pig of him, he's giving him pig's feet and big pig's legs. He's supposed to be the abbot. He probably got dismissed. What do you think?
Or worse.
I don't know. But this is a magnificent area of the church, the presbytery. You know, the normal people would not be allowed in here many years ago, because this is where the choir comes to sing their services. But now today, people do join the choir and have services in here. And we have the beautiful scene of the Last Supper there. There it is. And the lectern. Always a large bird. Not a big chicken, as someone said once. Because of the large bird, it can fly to the four corners of the earth, giving the word of Jesus Christ as it goes. Now, what I'd like to do now, everyone, is to go round here and into our beautiful Lady Chapel. Okay? Oh, by the way, what makes the church a cathedral is the bishop has his seat here. And this is the bishop's seat. The Bishop of Chester sits in that seat when he's invited in the cathedral by the dean and the chapter. You may have heard of Thomas Becket. Remember when the king said, "Who would rid me of this troublesome priest?" And they all went out and they murdered him. Can you see the knights murdering Thomas Becket? Henry VIII ordered everything associated with Thomas de Becket to be destroyed. That one survived, and to the best of my knowledge, it's the only record of Thomas à Becket you'll ever find. It really is a beautiful boss up there. Now, this beautiful Lady Chapel was dedicated to St. Werburga. St. Werburga was an 8th century saint, and for safety, her relics were brought here before this church existed, because there was a church here called St. Peter and St. Paul, and the Normans demolished St. Peter and St. Paul and started to build this in 1092. But her relics were kept here. And this is where her relics were kept. This is St. Werburga's shrine. It survived. But if you look very carefully, it has been damaged throughout the years. Oliver Cromwell's troops came into this church, and when they came here, they considered this to be heresy. They looked at the kings of Mercia. Can you see they're all headless? They all chopped their heads off because they thought it was heresy. And it really is a beautiful shrine. There was another case in this church. In 1555, Henry VIII's daughter became queen. Now, you all know that Henry changed the religion from the Catholic faith to the Protestant faith. And in 1555, after the dissolution of the monasteries, his eldest daughter became queen, following the death of Edward VI. Now, she was a devout Catholic, so she took the Catholic faith back again. And we'd had 14 years of Protestant faith. Now they all went with the Catholic faith. We had a priest in Chester called George Marsh. He refused to change his religion. George Marsh was brought here right on this spot here, and he was accused of heresy. He was offered the chance to change his religion or die. He chose the latter. He was taken from this Lady Chapel in 1555. He was taken to a place of public execution just outside Chester, which we call Spittal, where we executed people regularly. People could go and see it. They tied George Marsh to a stake, they poured tar all over him, and they set him on fire. And he was burnt alive because he refused to change his religion. 100 years later, a man called John Plessington, a Catholic priest, was accused of heresy because he was a Catholic. So they took him to the same place, only they didn't burn him, they hung, drawn and quartered him. Do you know what that means? Yes. You'd hang a man till he was not quite dead, then you'd cut him down from the gallows, disembowel him with a knife, and cut his body into 4 pieces while he was still alive, what was left of him. There was no religious tolerance then, and sadly we have very little today, don't we, really? So there you go. So this is this beautiful Lady Chapel, and it really is a gorgeous chapel. Mosaics were put there in the 19th century, was a gift of His Grace the Duke of Westminster. He paid for all this. Well, people wouldn't have had chairs years ago. They would have sat on those ledges. Can you see them? All the way around. People would have stood up. There would have been no chairs. Didn't have chairs. The original floor was taken out about 10 years ago. I think it was a tragedy. We should have left it, but this is a modern